Welcome to Real Takes
and Movie Breaks.
I'm Kimberly.
I'm Michael.
And today we are reviewing the film A Real Pain. Please subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell so you never miss a review. This will be our spoiler review where we will go into depth about what we liked, what we didn't like, and how we might improve the film if given the chance. So we'll dive in. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I like the writing a lot. I like the acting is all really good, all the little side characters, and the journey is nice. I can see the structure of the movie is all there. All the movie formula stuff is all there. You kind of have the big blowout. The characters are mad at each other in the middle, and they come back around at the end. The ending, you mentioned in the no spoiler review that you thought the ending was underwhelming, is what you said?
Yeah, underwhelming.
I thought the ending was interesting because it ends where the movie starts.
Yeah.
Where he's in the same seat.
Yes, it starts in a JFK airport and ends in a JFK airport.
And it's him sitting there staring off blankly.
Yeah.
As I was watching Kieran Culkin's character, I was like, this guy is suicidal. Remember I was saying that before they reveal that he's suicidal.
Yeah, you called it.
And I was like, okay, that's the only way this makes sense. Because you have to be careful with him. Because the way he gives everybody shit. And so you have to be careful with him. And that explains why everyone's taking his shit. Because at first I'm like, nobody would take this.
Yeah, I remember we were watching it and I was thinking, he's blunt and very honest, so you kind of have to respect him for being honest, but he doesn't have social tact, and he comes off really abrasive and rude. Why are people just putting up with this? And why is David, Jesse Eisenberg's character, just putting up with his blatant kind of rude...
and he asked for like everything he asked for, Jesse Eisenberg gives to him. So he's like, you mind taking the middle seat on the plane? And then he takes it. Or he's like, mind if I take a shower first? And then he takes a shower. Yeah. So I'm like, anybody would be like, no, man, I'm taking a shower first. I called it. So sorry. Yeah. Like anyone would do that, but you realize why he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Because he's worried that he's gonna try to commit suicide again. And so that worked for me. And then all the stuff with the Holocaust I thought was tastefully done. They don't go too far into that stuff. I love the part on the train with the with the Marxist conversation while they sneak onto the train to ride back. I love philosophically the difference between the two. I love all the stuff where Kieran Culkin's character is talking about, man, you used to cry all the time and now you don't cry anymore. Why? Man, what the hell? Like, I love that stuff because that hits close to home actually, because I feel like I've had similar conversations with family members about that kind of stuff. So that's really, it's just really good writing. My issue is, and always will be, it's such a great, I wish I could have, I feel like I could have played one of those characters.
Yeah, we'll get into what we didn't like in a minute.
Yes,
yeah.
and that script is such a great script. I almost feel like you could do that on the stage.
Yeah, I love the writing, and you have brothers, and so I can imagine some of the dialogue felt very natural to you because they're cousins, but they're
basically brothers.
They're basically like they have this brotherly bond because they were really close when they were little, and the one brother, Kieran Culkin, he was really, really close to their grandmother, who was a survivor of the Holocaust. And so the other character, David, played by Jesse Eisenberg, they go off on two different paths. So they lose touch. They're not as close as they used to. One of the brothers, who's suicidal, basically lives in his parents' basement, smokes a lot of weed, and is a wanderer with no real direction, whereas Jesse Eisenberg's character gets married, has a family, lives his life safe by the book, follows the path that's usually traveled. And so it is interesting to see them come back and reunite because of the death of their grandmother and then visiting Poland on this touring, learning about the Holocaust and Jewish culture at that time. It is really interesting the way Eisenberg sort of walks the line between tragedy and comedy. And I said this in my no spoiler review. I was very impressed with the balance that he was able to pull off, because there were some moments that the comedy was really hard to pull off because it is such dark material. But like you said, I feel like the material was approached in a tactful, respectful way, and I really appreciated those moments of levity, because otherwise it would have been way too heavy-handed. What I really loved about this movie is it made me think about trauma and this concept of generational trauma. And when I was watching the film, I kept wondering, okay, Kieran McCulkin, is his character, does he have the generational trauma of his grandmother? Because he was really close to her. It seems like he feels her pain in a very real, visceral way. Whereas the other character, David, is removed. He's distanced himself from the pain because he doesn't see any reason to relive the past, right? And there is some interesting dialogue.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't actually think that's true. I think Jesse Eisenberg understands the emotional side of it better.
You think so?
I think that's actually what's really going. That's sort of the secret. The actor's secret of the film is that Jesse Eisenberg has all the emotional life that's actually going on, and the other guy's depressed and can't feel anything.
Oh, that's how you saw it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that moment on the train where he was like crying, do you feel like he was just sort of forcing himself to cry?
Who, Kieran Culkin?
Yeah.
He's being a victim at that point.
Yeah, he's making it about him and his victimhood.
And that's what Jesse Eisenberg says at that moment. He's like, it's not about you. He actually says that. If you actually, what's great about this movie is all the times that Kieran Culkin is sort of ranting and saying stuff, he's really saying nothing all the time. He's not saying anything that means anything. And then you hear Jesse Eisenberg say little quips to what he's saying that sort of undercuts him. Mm-hmm. Because Jesse Eisenberg knows sort of has a higher emotional intelligence.
Yes. I feel like he's able to cope with his emotions in a healthier way.
But he also feels things more deeply and outside of himself. He's thinking about his son that he wants to get back to.
Yeah.
And his family. And his grandmother. I remember at the dinner table, he's talking about the grandmother, and then he's telling them about the story about the grandmother, and then Kieran Culkin goes, "Yeah, I used to talk to her every week."
Yeah,
he goes like that. So like everything Kieran Culkin does,
it's like he wants to suffer.
He wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah,
and then even his story about the grandmother, he's like, she slapped me one time, and he's like, What do you mean? He was like, yeah, it made me feel good about myself. I don't know. Like, it's all about him.
Yeah. I guess that's definitely one way of looking at it. I feel like, depending on your personality type, you may identify with one cousin more than the other cousin. Like, at times, I could really relate to what one of them was saying, and at other times, I could relate more to the other one. So I feel like those two characters are sort of different sides to ourselves that we can relate to in terms of how we process pain and how we cope with pain, and how we wrap our minds around what happened during the Holocaust. It's something that is hard to think about. And so presenting the material in this way, it's a lot easier to digest because there's moments of humor, and we're processing this horrible real event through this fictional story, which I think is a beautiful thing. And so I love the writing. I thought the acting was great. I really like the directing. And it's a movie that will make you think. I'm still thinking about it. And I'm not sure if I even fully understand all the nuances and all the deeper meaning to it all just yet. So I might even watch it again. But yeah, good. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 5, I probably rate it a 4.5.
4.
I mean, a 3.5, not 4.5, 3.5. Yeah.
So I think we all have a person in our family. I think everybody has this. There's some person in the family that is really emotional. And everyone in the family is like, oh, be careful around them. They're really emotional.
Sensitive, yeah.
And then everybody else is like, oh, okay. Yeah, we'll be really careful around them because they're so emotional. Okay. And so then actually the people that are more emotionally mature and not thinking about themselves all the time are actually the ones that have to sort of coddle for the one who is very self-absorbed, self-involved. There's a whole scene where he tells Jesse Eisenberg where he goes, how come you never visit me? And he's like, you live in Lamina or whatever. Yeah. Like, why don't you come to see me in New York?
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesse Eisenberg is not saying to him, how come you never come visit me?
Yeah.
He's saying to Jesse, how come you never visit me?
Yeah.
And it's like, he sort of finds a way to make himself out to be this person who's either victimized or
morally superior.
Morally superior.
What's funny, the moments that are funny are when Kieran Culkin's character is telling David, oh, you shouldn't do that. Isn't that rude? That's disrespectful. You shouldn't do that. And then he does this crazy thing, like when he goes and he gets everybody to pose with the statue. Like,
he does rude things throughout the entire movie. He does
so many rude things that are like
at the dinner table. He
tactless.
He tells the tour guide how to run the tour.
But then he gets on his high horse at times and he's telling his cousin, "No, you're being rude." So it's ironic and it's funny. But I feel like both characters were written to be relatable, endearing, but also kind of like a pain, right? It's called a real pain for a reason.
Well, Jesse Eisenberg has a whole monologue at the dinner about his actual pain.
Yeah.
Around and it's like a legitimate real pain that he's experiencing.
Yeah.
But he sort of carries and bottles up while the other guy is like running around trying to basically make everyone else suffer on his behalf.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not supposed to be happy right now. We're in first class. We should be in coach or whatever.
But he does have a point. It's like,
but he's we paid for these tickets.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, but then they went on the train that they steal, where they go on and don't buy the tickets. They sneak past the conductor and they go into first class and they sit down and Jesse Eisenberg, wait a minute, we're in first class, and he's like, oh, we earned it.
Yeah, it's
so he's a walking contradiction.
Very contradicting.
And it's a great character though. The point I'm making is that the character that Kieran Culkin is playing is a well written character that you have seen throughout the history of drama. He shows up everywhere. That character shows up in Shakespeare. He shows up in old films and in modern film. It's a classic character. Yeah. It's a very well written thing.
We all recognize that character.
I just don't believe that Kieran Culkin necessarily knocked it out of the park with his portrayal of that character, because it's a really hard character to play. It's very complex, and there's a lot, and you have to understand all, like, just watching it, I get the character from the right. Like, I could go into that script, really break it down. I could get all the stuff that we're talking about. I could kind of get those things and then have them in my pocket while I'm playing it. But that wouldn't be the answer. You actually have to go in and do those scenes, and you would find, like, I see him overacting a lot.
Yeah.
Like when they're like
he
when he's given the whole thing up, the speech about being in first class, and he's like, don't you understand? And you're like, we're you know, and it's just too much. It doesn't. There's a way to do that scene that is just daggers, and he instead of using daggers, he kind of takes a baseball bat and it's just kind of wailing. And
I feel like those moments are supposed to be kind of funny.
Yes.
And charming, right? Like, you hear all these other characters describing that character as charming. And my problem with the movie was that I didn't feel charmed by him once, personally. And so I don't know if it was a directing thing or just a casting thing, but I just don't feel like Kieran Culkin has like that charm that every other character kept saying he was charming. And then there's that scene where David is like, oh, I wish I had the charm you had. And I was thinking, I don't find him very charming. I find him kind of annoying, kind of interesting, intriguing, mysterious, but not exactly charming. So I feel like that was the one quality that was missing from that character that we needed to really enjoy the movie in the way it could have been. And also, perhaps, I feel like I didn't quite get this sense of like satisfaction at the end, and maybe that was part of the point, that when you're suffering, you don't necessarily have healing. Like it didn't feel like the cousin, Kieran Culkin's character, it didn't feel like he had a big arc, or that he starts in the airport wandering around aimlessly, and then he ends and he's still in the same spot. So I feel like maybe that was the point, that he didn't really grow.
Well, he's not going to go get a job.
Yeah.
That's not who he is.
Yeah.
And it's very well written. I mean, the slap at the end is great.
The slap was funny.
And don't get me wrong, I like Jesse Eisenberg's performance. Like, I think he deserves his Golden Globe nomination and etc.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's good. I'm like, I don't even think Kieran Culkin is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think
it could have been better.
I'm saying that I think that there's levels to this, and this movie is really, really good. It could have been just amazing. Could have been so great. And there's like these little things that I noticed as I'm watching, because I was really into it. But I was looking at it. Kimberly and I are both actors, so I was watching this, eating up the script, and like, man, I would love a script like this. God, would I love a script like this? That would be amazing to play one of those parts. I could play either part.
I think you would make a good tour guide, like Will Sharp, his character.
Yeah.
And Will Sharp did a great job. At first, I was like, wow, this is a completely contrasting character from anything I've seen him do.
He's very good.
It was a fun role. I really liked that character a lot.
I love that whole thing with the stones on the stoop, and then the Polish guy's like, you don't put the stones there. And it's like every idea Jesse Eisenberg has
it fails. So if you were to change the film, improve the film, like if you had the opportunity, do you have any suggestions for improving the film?
I just think that it's a film that's written for actors, and it's a film written for great actors that are really, really great at what they do. And I'm not saying these guys aren't great at what they do. They're very, very good. I think that there are probably actors out there that could play this thing and knock us, blow us away. And it would be like the best film of the year. Mm-hmm. It'd be like the film everybody remembers. So
you might recast different actors. Any other suggestions for improving the film?
No, I mean the way the film is made, the way it's shot, the way the structure of it, everything. It's like there's really no other way. Like as I was watching the way, I was interested in the filmmaking of it because it's a smaller movie. It's like a movie you and I could conceivably do. We could write something like this. And this is the kind of movie, if I wrote something like this, I would die happy, because it's an incredibly well written script. As far as I'm concerned, it should win Best Original Screenplay if it's not adapted. But the way it's made, there's really, I was thinking about, there's not really any other way you could make this movie. The transitions and the way it flows is fantastic. I think it's and the way it's done in the Holocaust scenes and all of that is great. It's really a great, well-made movie. So
I have a few suggestions. If I were to remake the film or enhance it in some way, I would like to see more character development from all the other people that were on the tour. There was this one line I remember which stuck out to me because I feel like it didn't quite fit, where the one cousin is hugging everyone and saying goodbye, and he says, "Oh, I feel like we're a family." I didn't really get the sense that they bonded in a really, really strong way. Like there were moments where I feel like they were all connecting, but I didn't get the sense that they bonded like they were war buddies or something, you know? So if there was a way to show that they're actually deeply bonding with all those characters, and also if the two cousins rubbed off on each other even more. Like, there were moments where you could see that, okay, maybe I should be more like him, or maybe I should be more like him. But at the end, it doesn't seem like they really change that much. So I feel like if one cousin really became more like the other cousin, sort of like in that story by Sam Shepard. Mm-hmm. So if there was a reversal, a complete role reversal, that would have been a little more interesting to watch than just to see these two characters reunite, you know, have some emotional moments and have some laughs and, you know, reaffirm their love for each other, but they don't really change. They just go back to their lives exactly the way they were before. So that would be my suggestion for kind of changing the film.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of movies like this. I mean, like you go back through, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a lot like this. Mm-hmm. You have the guy who's more uptight, and you have the guy who everyone likes but is kind of a loser.
Yeah,
you know. And at the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, after they part ways, he realizes, he puts it together in his head that John Candy's wife had died. So he runs in and he sees John Candy sitting there. He's like, I don't have a home or whatever. He's like, well, come home with me. So like you could have done something like that, mm-hmm. where this would have, I mean, it probably would have been cheesy, but after Jesse Eisenberg leaves the airport and he goes back and sits down, you could have had a double back where Jesse Eisenberg comes back.
Yeah.
And he's like, come on, man. And he's like, no, I think no, you're coming with me. You're going to come stay with us for a while.
Yeah, because he invites him over, and then he says, no, man, I'm just going to hang out at the airport.
And that could have been Jesse Eisenberg, like, his character shifts. He mm-hmm. becomes more assertive. Like, no, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
I love you. You're not staying here by yourself.
Yeah.
You're not staring off into blankness.
Yeah.
You're coming with me.
I would have enjoyed that more.
That would have been an ending that I think probably would have brought it all back around to what... Because it would have made you think, oh, it's going to end where it started, and then no.
Yeah.
The people on the tour, I like them, they're fine, but yes, they are kind of underutilized, mm-hmm. but the movie doesn't really allow for them to be utilized. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, Jennifer Garner was one of the actresses. Like, she's not really utilized. So that would be my idea for perhaps improving the film. But overall, as it is, I would recommend going to see it. I think it's definitely worth watching. And if you do watch it, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Do you agree with us, disagree? We'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, if there are any other films you'd like us to review, comment below and stay real.
Have great takes.